Yeah.
Hello.
So technically, this is the first live that we're going because the previous live, YouTube said that they wanted a 24 hours
Notice.
uh, time, yeah, a time for. So we
Okay.
could not go live on this channel. We went live on the whatever channel that we have.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was so technically this is the first live.
All right. Perfect. Sounds good.
So what are we going to talk today?
So we are going to speak about the product life cycle in the retail industry. Um, yeah, based on how we've handled it, why is it important, how to
Hmm.
manage it in a startup.
Right.
I think, yeah, if we can like touch base on those points, that should be enough to, get people thinking or share our experiences
Yeah,
so
I'm
far.
sure. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So where do we start? Um,
Um,
For me, I just remember one of the a funny story that when I was in the home furnishing business, the
yes.
previous buyers went about buying so much that one day the CEO came and said that you had bought merchandise for the next 4 years or something, and so you guys can chill and not do any work for the next 4 years. So that's the first thing that I remember whenever you say product life cycle
Yes.
and yeah, how people purchase and all of that.
Yes. Correct. And yeah, I've also like known some startup brands who have bought like only one piece of every product,
Oh, really?
thinking
Okay.
so once you sell it, there's nothing to replenish it with, just to
Oh,
test the waters. So I think that's also maybe it sounds like an error. Like as a merchandiser, you would never do that. You would still try to take a risk on products that you feel will sell more and try to get more quantities in those. And
and what category are these guys from? They.
so it was also like a home starter brand.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, then they thought that they'll just buy only one piece every style. That would do well if you are like a really high fashion and you have like the HNIs of the world. Maybe that one piece might work. But what price were they selling this for?
So it was a UK brand, and the price points were anywhere from £25 onward to the highest product being retailed at 100
So that's
pounds.
like a middle of the road, right? It's not a high fashion.
Yeah, a little maybe towards premium. That's what I would say.
Yeah, okay. So that's
Yeah,
it's a premium. Yeah, you wanted to
but
position it.
yeah, I think like before you buy into anything, you need to like you can't buy product. I feel to test the waters. You need to like do that research prior to dipping your fingers into retailing. So once you want to retail, you have to take a risk on. You have to forecast sales on that. I feel that this color will sell more or this will. Otherwise, if you sell one of each, you will never like at the end of it, like everything has sold 100% after 6 months. So how would
That,
you know what did better?
oh yeah, that's true.
Once you've
That's
sold out everything, you wouldn't know. You would only know when you have like a repeat sales on a product and you have inventory to support it.
that's true.
So yeah,
So
I think
what
that's
would be
why.
the right way?
I think for a so maybe like deciding from the point of view of because I worked for retailers and brands which were already established, but from the point of view of a startup, I think understanding the product category you want to experiment in or you want to start selling in. Yeah, you do your product analysis. It's a little based on maybe personal preference, but also like looking at the market, what's working and what's not, and determining a range and forecasting that these ranges will do well, and maybe these particular ranges are needed to infuse fashion or color or something that would if it's an online brand, you want to draw the footfall in onto your website. So some products which can be showcased on social media sites. So some products need to like take up that space, some have to take up your core or volume generating business. So I think that's where I would start building it, like an understanding of competitors, understanding of price hierarchy, what's working in the market. All that also I think helps. Like that's the starting point, I feel.
Yeah, makes
And
sense.
yeah.
Makes sense. So what you're saying is that for a brand, they need to have certain products that's certain key pieces that needs to be only focusing on social media so that it can build the brand. And
Generally, like that's what I've seen, like not just for e-commerce businesses, but even for brands who would have like some fashion pieces that are not meant to be on the shop floor for let's say 6 months of time, but it's just to infuse like some interest, so that there's some newness in the store every single month. So they are
right.
there for maybe just 6 weeks or 8 weeks, and then you turn that around, or not turn that around, but you discounted. So they are not like very deep buys. So that's not where you're buying volume. They could be like expensive pieces. They don't have to be like entry price points. So I think maybe like a balance of all that. But yes, core should dictate the majority of the product assortment that you have. So
Right.
product life cycle would be, when you buy, what is the intention of this product? So let's say you have like 5 items or 5 products that you've bought. So out of those 5, are you going to keep the 5 forever? Do they all become core? So whenever a customer comes in the store this year, next year, or the next 5 years, that person finds all the 5 products all the time? Or is it that out of the 5 pieces, one becomes core and the 4 are just seasonal or fashion, or those key products that are aligned with maybe brand values and principles, just to
Right.
push that image forward? So I think
Yeah.
those are the questions like that you would be asking and thinking about when
So
you're
how does a
choosing.
brand, like what percentage would they do it, like what should be core, what should be fashion, and what should be like somewhere between core and fashion? How do they find out what percentage that they need to keep?
I think when you look at percentage in terms of number of options that you're offering, I have seen, I have worked with brands where the core number of options that are offered by a core line are not too many. So it could be 20% are just core styles, and the rest are all seasonal. And out of the seasonal products, there would be like a handful, maybe like let's say 10%. So 10% would be your key styles, uh, which are on the shop floor or which have a very short product life cycle. Seasonal would be there for the 6 months, and core would flow into the next season. So I work with brands where maybe only 20% of the lines, but those 20% of those line options will generate the maximum business. So they would contribute to like 60% and onwards in sales.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Because they are on the volume, right?
yes.
Because
So in terms of number of options, I have like worked with brands where core pieces are less and seasonal are more. But if you're working for a brand which identifies itself as a core product line, so I work where only one product is offered, then I think it could be like 90% is just core, so only 10% is infusion of key
so
styles.
this
So again, it's the kind
what
of,
kind of brand is this? Like, I
so
mean, this is
yes. So for example, like I work for a startup band called Mahina, where most of everything is a period panty, and so everything is core.
yeah,
But
yeah. So yeah, correct. Like, for lingerie, most of it would be core, right? Because people
but
are
in
more.
lingerie, yes, certain products, certain styles that are like repeat purchases, they are core. But the
Yeah.
rest can be like a new color, a new fabric, a new style, and but you just offer it with the intention of keeping it only for 6 months, and then you probably bring in a new color in the next season, or a new fabric is introduced. So I've seen both of those. But yes, it's very unique to the brand, the kind of product that you're offering. And that, I think, the mindset of this, especially like for startups, like I said, it has to be very clear on what you want to build. Once you have an established business and you want to like understand your product life cycle, I think that happens every season. You are doing your range planning, you're looking at your numbers, you're seeing what worked. Sometimes you have to get rid of a core line where you have too much of inventory in the warehouse, because generally you would carry um, better inventory or more inventory and stock covers in core products,
Uh,
and seasonal is just maybe like a couple of replenishments, and then the range breaks and it's fragmented and you get rid of it at the end of season sale.
Yeah, so this reminds me when I was working in Dubai, I was taking care of young women's wear. This was high on fashion. This was
Okay.
one of the most, this was the most fashionable brand I think in of UAE, which was a young women's wear brand. Uh,
Okay.
and so yeah, so then over there, just like how you said, we had core, we had some we used to call it fashion essential, which is fashion which stays for like a 6 months or so. And then we had core, yeah. Core used to stay for like many years actually, which
Yeah.
were like the cardigans and because it was UAE, so the every office has AC, and the AC was like on the lowest temperature. I think
Yeah.
we used to run AC at 18 degrees or so. We have to be on a sweater or a jacket all the time.
All the time. Yeah.
Yeah, so interestingly, it's a very hot place, but then one cardigans were core, and we used to keep it for. We had introduced and we kept it for many years.
Okay.
And yeah,
Yeah.
and then so for because it was core, so we slowly introduced many colors. So we had many colors. Say for example, for this cardigan,
Yeah.
and over a period of time we introduced many colors because that's the only thing that we could do, so that we can change maybe colors over a period of time. And then we had certain shift dresses for as fashion essential, because
Okay.
shift dresses or a bodycon will always come again and again, but then the frills, the fabric, or certain embellishment always keeps changing. So we used to call that fashion essential because the silhouette is the same, but then the fabric and certain textures or the neckline may change.
Yes.
And then we had fashion, which was like which used to stay in the shops for like three months or so.
Okay.
So like exactly how you told, when we had what do you call, a little older woman brand. So this was a young woman and then a
Chocolate. Okay.
middle-aged woman. The
Yes.
same, what was fashion essential became fashion for them, and what was core became core fashion core for them. So they kind of little bit shifted the ranges, and then so like how you're saying, depending on where they kept the where the brand is on the fashion cycle, the percentages and the kind of garments may change, right? That's what.
Yes. Yes. And I think when I worked with Marks and Spencer, I think most of the categories would have smaller departments, and some
Mhm.
of the departments could only be seasonals, which would never carry any core. So they were just meant to, for example, even with Triumph, when I worked, we would have a collection called Holiday, which was only meant for the holiday season, where we would have swimwear. And then there was no point, flowing the same colorway into a year later. So
Right.
that category would be 100% seasonal, nothing core in it. But we knew what the best sellers were, where we would just top up and they would come. Every best selling style would come up with some added highlight or a change from the previous season. But swimwear we would get rid of at the end of season sale, always.
Yeah.
So I
So this.
think within a brand, like if it deals with a lot of categories, I think there could be certain ranges or departments which are 100% fashion or seasonal driven, and you might not have anything core in it. So I think yes, it is complex, but I think that's what makes it fun. Like I've always enjoyed like trying to understand how the product life cycle changes from category to category. maybe like in home furnishing, like furniture, maybe you're not able to introduce so much of seasonal stuff. I mean that's what I think of. Maybe like furniture can sit in store for a longer period of time. I've never
Right.
worked for furniture, but I've worked in accessories, but you could switch up the accessories. They would not take up too much space in the warehouse or in the store. So we could like mark it down at the end of every season. But from what I remember, I think furniture could stay until the piece is sold. You can
Yes.
keep it in store, yeah.
Yeah, as much as yeah, I had never worked in a furnishing, but I had worked for a home business.
Yes.
So what? Yeah, they would pretty much make certain fashion unique style pieces, and then they would keep it till it gets sold. And if it becomes too old, then maybe they would, if they want
Discounted. Yes.
if they want to
For
bring
something, yeah.
they have to discount it. Otherwise, it stays. But in furnishing, the only thing that we used to do was the fabric and everything mostly would be the same. So what we do in the fabric might change, the colors might change. Those are the things that, because there are certain fabrics, like so for say for example for curtain, there are
Hmm.
certain fabrics that really does well, and so and people don't that much. So what that the only thing that we would do is a little bit change in the
Yeah,
texture or colors, or we would bring new colors.
correct.
Yeah, those are the things that.
Yes, I think there are categories which are very core centric. So you will like curtains, only like a beige would sell or a brown would sell, and maybe not too many prints. So I think it would be so like for the question that you had asked, that what is the right percentage mix between core and fashion or core or seasonal? I think there is no one answer. It's like very category specific, and it's also maybe driven by the brand, how it positions itself as.
uh, all
Uh,
together, right? With
yes,
all the merchandise put together, all the items put together,
yeah,
how they want to position, where they are on the life cycle of as a brand with respect to other brands in the market, then they will have it.
yes,
Yeah, yeah,
yes.
that's true.
Because I mean, if you're, let's say, if you're just selling curtains and it's just core products, so year on, time and again, you just sell the same colors, but suddenly there's competition in the market, and they are doing prints, they're doing different fabrics, they are doing different materials. So then you will be compelled to introduce a range which is maybe not core, maybe just something that the customer is literally buying from your competitors, just to give the right kind of a product offering. So I
Right.
think so when you're looking at your product life cycle, it is good to look at what's happening with your competition. Where else is your customer buying from?
That's true. That's true. It's very, and sometimes only when you introduce certain things and take that risk, would you really know. Sometimes you cannot even think using your data or the information that you have. You cannot even think that whether something would work or not unless we, experiment and put it on the floor, right? So that's
Yes.
also there that they have to see their competition, and sometimes they have to experiment. For like the cardigan that we talked about, that was like an experimental piece, and the buyer who brought in that piece really got promoted very fast because it was a success, and they had this merchandise for a very long time. Another things that I've seen is in when I was in Dubai, the it was we were very high on fashion. At the same time, when I compared with other brands in Europe, even Europe was not as high on fashion as much as it was in Dubai, because and then it's a even though it's a conservative country, but because women used to wear like a burqa, so it was okay for them to buy very high on fashion,
Yeah.
almost like a party wear, and wear it on a regular day because any which ways it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
So those psyches, I think we'll have to
Yeah.
see all of those psyches,
Yeah.
and because if we just tell that if you just think that okay, Dubai is a conservative society, so maybe this will not sell, that be far from truth, because it might just, you'll be put to surprise when you actually put the merchandise on the floor, and see how it sells. So yeah, so that's also I think in product life cycle we need to actually be a little courageous to experiment and see whether it really works.
Yes, yes, definitely. I think that is also true. And I think Dubai being like the shopping hub of the world, maybe yes, there would be like local shoppers, but I think lots of people from around the world are there only with the intention of shopping. And
Yeah, that's also there.
yes, I mean, which
That's
is
true.
true for the high street here. Like if you go into London, because it gets people from all around the world, there is like, I mean, I remember there would be a collection of swimwear which was only targeted for Arabs. So it was like more conservative,
Ah,
more like a bodysuit, but it was offered, and there were like hijabs and burqas and like more conservative options, but only in that one store.
right, makes
So
sense.
yeah, I mean, so
That's
I think
true.
that also has to be, but that's more about, yes, you buy into it, and then how you are going to, what are the product assortments that your stores would carry, which I guess gets eliminated when you have an online business. But when you have stores, you have to obviously
Yeah,
tailor make the assortment for that high street, for that city,
yeah.
for the shoppers, local shoppers there, and
Yeah, that's true.
yes,
Online business is slightly different. Yes. So once we ran ads for an this was an high fashion for an India and all linen garments for women. So high on fashion linen, and they could not launch it in their summer. They could not launch later in autumn, and it became almost December. So it was so we had to run ads almost near Christmas,
yeah,
if I'm not wrong. So when we ran ads in around Christmas to New Year, they were able to sell most of their, which was all linen basically. But because it was online, so we had put the ads across India, and people were purchasing and they were able to liquidate their stock even on a winter. So yeah, so online e-commerce is also we need to see what can be pushed and what can be done. It might act a little bit different than the offline sales, I think. Yeah.
yes, yes. I think maybe there are I feel there are fewer risks because you're just maintaining one, like if you just have a presence of one online store. But yes, when you start like distributing your product on different channels, like if you're on Amazon and you have your own website and you are also online for other customers, I think then it becomes complex, and maybe then the same strategy that you would apply to a brick and mortar store is what you would do here when you're thinking of your product assortments for Amazon and for your website and for other multiple channels that you're
That's
retailing from.
that's
But
true.
if it's just one website that you're running, and that's your ecom business generating a website, then I think maybe you have more to play around, like maybe more control, I feel, with the product. You can because you're not physically like moving stock, and something that you do not want to give space on, you can just not showcase it for a bit, and then when you have nothing to showcase, some any newness, you bring that product out and put it back on. um, so I mean, like with one of the footwear brand that I worked, whenever the inventory would get fragmented, they would just remove it from the website for a couple of weeks until the inventory levels were back on the core lines, and until then they would just put some other new product that had just arrived.
Okay.
So I think that gives you more control. So your product is not completely gone. It's you as a customer you can't see it, but when it comes back on, it has like full availability, better availability.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, online is a little bit a different game altogether. But then I think the basis, the core basic principles of the retail do work in
Apply.
online
Yeah.
as well. But it's
Yes,
much more.
yes.
Yeah.
I think completely, yes. I think it's just like better control. It's almost like you running one store as opposed to running multiple stores, which most of the retailers and brands do. I think online can just be. better controlled. Um, and But I think the retail principles, buying, merchandising, analyzing your inventory remains the same.
Remains the same, yes. Yes, so another trend that I have seen of online in the online space is the power that a buyer and a planner would have. It also got distributed to the ads guy, the marketing guy in the department, because when it was only brick and mortar kind of a store, all the buyers and planners, retail planners, would have all the control over making any decision. But then in online, they have to now collaborate with the, because say for example, if they don't put the merchandise on the right space, or they don't
Yeah,
give the right budgets for the ads, or showcase that product, then it can the whatever the buyer thought that it would sell may not happen. Yeah, but in brick and mortar also, then we do talk to the store people, where we tell
yeah,
them the right space and all of that.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
true.
online, maybe the merchandising, from what I see, and the easiest way to put it is that online merchandising actually becomes meshed with visual merchandising. So,
That's
what
true.
a
Yeah.
visual merchandiser would be doing in a brick and mortar, and a merchandiser planning the inventory, I think online the two roles merge. So, you are looking at what's selling, but you're also making sure that it's on the front of your shop floor, which is like on the face of your
Exactly.
website, and it pops up. Yes, so I think in my head, that's how I see it, that the visual merchandiser and the retail merchandiser, brand merchandiser, the roles mesh. They're
Well,
like
yes, you
intertwined. Yeah.
have to also understand a little bit of the dynamics of the of how where the merchandise is, where the garments are, or whatever the pieces are in the website. Also, we have to also look into what are the budgets that's spent on each piece or each merchandise, to also find out that why it sold and why it did not sell. Right? In a brick and mortar, the marketing team would only spend for hoardings and so on and so forth. So that's not going to really affect the sales of a particular category or a particular piece in the. But here in online, the the marketing guy has much more power to actually make or break whatever the buying or the planning team has done. So
Yeah.
that way that they have to work with one more additional department, the buying, then the retail planning, and the marketing. All three departments have to work together to make that sale happen. That's something that I had very strongly seen. And initially, when e-commerce came in India, this was around 2010 or around, there were
Mm-hmm.
much more what do I say, the importance that was given to the buyers, were eventually slowly going to the marketers, because they were kind of taking care of the targets and the sales. So it was going towards that. And then I feel
Okay.
that, yeah, I felt that
Yeah.
the need for them to understand how the sales happen online is also
Yeah.
was becoming more important. Yeah.
I think it goes hand in hand because, yes, I mean, again, like the buying and merchandising will be, again, they make those crucial decisions of product, what to keep, what to sell. And I think at the end of the day, everybody is working towards a similar target, a similar goal.
Mhm.
From what I've seen, yes, depending on which part of the year you are in, like at season launch, I think a merchandising team, buying merchandising team is equally important as marketing, rolling out their marketing campaigns. But it could be true, yeah. Maybe that's where it's moving towards. With social media, I think marketing maybe gets more say
Yes.
on how what calls to take. But yeah, I think like when you're looking at good performers on retail, on a website, maybe the parameters are a bit different. Like anything that's driving traffic, you can monitor that. So you know how a page, a product, how many hits it gets. Maybe in real time, you know that information. How long did they stay on that product page, and did the purchase actually happen? Um, so I think maybe the jargon will also change. But at the end of the season, yeah, you look at like what's left, what you bought, and what's left in hand, stock in hand, and
That's true. That's true. The jargon changes, but it's pretty much the
yeah,
underlying understanding is just the same. Here in retail, we talk about walk-ins, and here they call
yeah,
about website visits or visitors, or so which is basically the traffic. They call it traffic, and then here we talk about walk-ins. So I think yeah, pretty. The words may change, but the concepts remains the same.
remain the
Yeah.
same.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. So I think like product life cycle on its own is like a big topic. I think yeah, if you think of a startup, it's completely different. It's needed to at a very foundational stage of a startup. What do you want? How do you want to plan it? And then for an established brand or a retailer, it happens every 6 months. Or if you have divided the year, if you're retailing for spring, summer, autumn, winter, then you're doing it every 3 months.
That's
And
true.
but I think having that product life cycle and knowing exactly what is this option doing for the brand, I think that's the kind of control you need to have. And then there are like several tools that you can look at how it's performing, availability of things, competition, and what the intention of it was. Maybe like a seasonal product. This has happened, I think. A seasonal color, which was only meant for autumn, was like so loved that the brand decided to just keep it as a core. They were like,
Oh,
why just sell 100 units of this when we can sell 10,000?
yes.
Because
Makes sense.
that's the feedback that they got from all the regions, that this is what's happening. Like people just love this emerald or teal blue. Maybe it should be a core, and I think it became a part of the core product line. So
Right.
yeah, I think just yeah, understanding like how your inventory is selling at the end of the day, and then maybe like some guidelines of how you want it to sell. That
Mhm.
also I think maybe
Yeah, makes sense. Yes. I think today we talked about like a different topic. I think each one of them we can have, we can
separately.
talk
Yeah.
specifically about each one of the topic also in detail
Yes.
in the other live, what do you call the sessions, live sessions to
Live
come.
sessions, a series of yeah, we can
Yeah.
call it.
Yeah. So yeah, so that's I think that was a good conversation that we had, and
I
now
think yeah, it was a good conversation. Yeah, I think yes, I think we have like worked for so many different categories and brands. I think yeah, the conversation can go on, but I think maybe the best thing to do is like have smaller sessions
on each topic, right?
in
Yeah.
on each topic. Yes,
In the future sessions to come, then we can have one conversation about only the pricing. We talked about pricing today. We talked
like
about
yeah, yes,
competitor analysis. We also talked about something about retail, brick and mortar, and then
yeah,
e-com. We can only specifically talk about one of the formats. We also talked about many things we had talked about. So
like
all
product assortment for different stores or different channels.
right. And we
Yes,
also talked about different categories. So one day we can only talk about lingerie maybe, and one day home
yes,
furnishing, and one day about like women fashion, men's fashion.
okay,
How do they
yeah,
go? We can. So there's a lot of topics to come. The one thing is that we can put this whole recording to AI and ask what are the topics that we can talk about, and we can probably do
okay,
that. Yeah.
okay, all right. This was the first live session for this.
Yes, and we did well.
Good. I think it's like, yeah, doing a live session, you have to like think of, as long as it flows as a conversation, you can recall your experiences. I thought that
Yes,
maybe it will be difficult to remember stuff, but yeah, I think it
yeah,
feels more like a conversation. So it's,
that's true.
yeah,
That's true.
yes,
Cool. Then I think
okay,
we close now
yes,
for
let's,
yeah. I'll stop the recording and then
yes, yes, Mahesh, you stop it. All right.
yeah. Bye.